Okay, it's 6:30, so we are going to start. Welcome to the Virtual Artist Talk. It is June 2nd, 6:30 p.m. And we are here today to talk to the Ming Chiao chapter of Sumi-e Society of America, the Faribault High School, and the Paradise Center for the Arts Pottery Group Show. For you who aren't familiar with the Paradise, we are a multidisciplinary art center located in downtown Faribault. We have 4 on-site galleries, a 300-seat auditorium, classrooms upstairs, healing arts at District 1 Hospital, all kinds of stuff happening. And we will record this tonight, and we will post it on the Paradise Center for the Arts.org website, the Paradise Center for the Arts Facebook page, and the Paradise Center for the Arts YouTube page. So if your family and friends can't make it, they can see it later. And the reason we started doing this is because of COVID. There were people who couldn't make it to the galleries, and we just wanted to share the work that the artists are doing. The artists put in so much effort that we want to make sure everybody can see it that wants to see it. And a wonderful thing about virtual is you can share it with people out of the area. So this is a photo of our Carlander gallery. The Ming Chiao show is actually in the Carlander gallery and the Lois Vranesh boardroom gallery. And we have several artists from that show with us today, and we will speak with them soon. I believe we have 17 artists in the Ming Chiao show. The Faribault High School, I hate to say, I'm not sure how many students we have in there, but the PCA Pottery Group show I know has 11. So we're going to go to the next slide. Here's a different angle of the show. And just to let you all know, I took these photos, or most of these photos, so they do not do the artwork justice. If you can, I really would advise seeing it in person. A lot of this work is on paper, so when I took the photos, there's reflections. So I'm sorry about that. But if you are interested in a piece and you can't make it to the gallery, we can always put you in connection to purchase that work. And Pat Gustafson is actually, I think, the one who brought the idea of having the Ming Chiao show to the Paradise. And I know Detailer was part of that too. But Pat, I think, was the president when we started bringing this up. Pat, do you want to tell us about it?
Sure. We're a state chapter organization, Ming Chiao, which means the bridge to the west. And we were started, we have about 63 members. And as I mentioned, we're a state chapter of the national organization of Sumi-e Society of America. And our chapter does various exhibits throughout the state, collectively as a group, as well as individuals. And we promote and enjoy the art of Sumi-e painting, which is Asian ink on rice paper. And we have a variety of wonderful artists of varying levels of experience, and the joy is from learning from each other. So with that, I can tell you about my painting here. Several years ago, I took a couple of classes on doing waterfalls, and I thought it was really fun. And one day I just started painting, and I made the little bluff with the Asian ink, and then all of a sudden I started to have a waterfalls happening. And so this had no picture or anything that I was framing it from other than just recall and enjoying the water and taking it somewhere. As we all have experiences in life with different falls. This one started out kind of like a Nearstrand Woods, and then it kept going and it got power. So it's all fun when you're creating, and as an artist, you get to take that liberty. So that's what I have to say about that. This was what I call the Drew Farm. my friend has, my significant other has a conservation farm and wooded area. And this is a plein air painting with my supplies in hand. I climbed up to this tree stand, which is enclosed, and he was deer hunting and I was painting. So I captured the sunset with the trees, and it was a great experience to do that out in nature, and especially in November weather and keeping warm by a little heater there. It all worked. So that's my, again, Sumi-e ink with watercolors on rice paper. And the last but not least is my kind of field of flowers. This was an inspiration for me from traveling to the Netherlands and to Keukenhof Gardens, where you see the fields and many, many fields of tulips. And this isn't a tulip, however, it's an expression of lively, vibrant colors, flowers that go on and on. So for me, that was my expression of that feeling. And again, this is the same. There's some Asian ink in there, mostly watercolor, and again on rice paper, which requires a lot of treatment prior to framing with wet mounting and that type of thing. So there's lots of periods in between in the process that you can lose your painting. So it's nice when it works out and it's done. So thank you very much.
And Pat will be having a show in the Lois of Vranesh Boardroom Gallery with an opening reception of June 24th from 5 to 7. And she will be, I think, showing some new scrolls.
Right. I have 3 scrolls and several both landscapes, flowers, just a variety of pieces. So come see me. Love to share my experience with you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pat. And if you can make it for Pat's opening reception on June 24th, we'd love to have you. And we will do an artist talk for those exhibitions also. So if you can't make it, we've got you covered and you can see it virtually. Thank you, Pat. Anything else you want to tell about your work?
No, I think just come and see it, and hope you enjoy it. I certainly, it's a passion for me that is very enjoyable in doing. So it's very fulfilling. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. And we'll do a question and answer at the end. So if you have any questions for the artists, we can do that at that time. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie.
We have Dorothy. Is it Bauman?
Yes. Hi.
And I was able to, Dorothy sent me a couple images of the pieces without the glass. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for putting them up. Yeah, there was a lot of reflection there.
Yeah.
Well, first, a little bit about me. I am a retired hobby artist. I spent many years in the healthcare industry being a nurse practitioner, and I have retired, and what retired people do now, we take culture seriously and participate as we are able. I started Asian brush painting about 7 or 8 years ago. I can't remember. And my main teacher is Catherine Park, and she has several works in this show. If you get to the gallery, please make sure you have a look at those. She's been my inspiration and the inspiration to many others here in Rochester, Minnesota. She's been very encouraging. These 2 paintings that I have in this show they're my pandemic work. We all have lots of that, I hope. These were done as part of a class that I took on Zoom from a teacher in Southern California named May Futterman. And both of them are rather moody kinds of pieces because of the technique that was taught in class and used in these paintings. They are representational, but they're not necessarily realistic. This one is entitled Pine Branch and Lily Pads. I used a technique of washing using standard Western watercolors wet on rice paper. And you let them bleed into each other. You let the magic just happen on the paper with the water and the paper and time. And then you have to let it dry overnight, at least. And I think these may have been drying for about a week before I took them out and started painting on them. So there's that imagery over which you have no control, just the color, and even that you don't control. But you kind of get used to the fun of doing something like that. For me, it just presents an imaginative idea of a subject. And it conveys just a little bit of the delightfulness of seeing lily pads. You can imagine that maybe that's fog behind the pine needles, or even aurora borealis if you're lucky enough in Minnesota. So that's that picture. The next one is titled Water Lily. Again, the same technique, but only more color was used with this paper. And it affected, I think, the placement and the composition in a good way for me. It evokes a little bit more of a nighttime mood. And again, to be seeing this, the first time I ever saw a water lily and lily pads in a little pond, it was a surprise. I was just on a hike and there it was. And, it wasn't like featured in my hiking book or anything. I was like, wow, okay, what a gift. And it's like seeing rainbows and aurora. It's just a fun thing. And I enjoyed painting it for that reason. I used a metallic paint on both of these to highlight and brighten it up a little bit. And this one, I think, in terms of what I've learned, or I'm continuing to learn about Asian painting, is the concept of host and guest. The host being the main focus and the guest being the little flower next to it. That's it. That's all I have to say. I hope you enjoy.
And I would like to say they stand out so much with the other pieces, because there's a lot of white in the backgrounds of the other pieces, and these are so different.
Yeah, thanks for picking up on that.
And I thought the aurora borealis right away when I saw them.
Okay, I did too, but I didn't want to put any ideas in anybody's head, so I left the title as the main subject, because it could be a dream, whatever.
Well, thank you, Dorothy, and thank you for sending the photos.
Oh, you're welcome.
Next, we have Christine Burton.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks to Ming Chiao and Paradise Center for the Arts for this opportunity. It's really nice for me and really fun. I've been painting for about 8 years and taking classes throughout all that time. I'm really happy. Art's always been a part of my life, but I'm really happy that I've kind of settled on this art form. And it's been also really nice to join Ming Chiao and not that long ago and meet others. Sumi-e appeals to me because of the simplicity of it, I think, the simplicity of the materials and the simplicity of the kind of purpose, because we try to express the energy of the subject. And I also like that it's part of a very long and rich tradition, within Asian art, East Asian art. The rice paper, as others have mentioned, presents different challenges with the ink working on the very absorbent rice paper. So there's a continual challenge technically as well as artistically and expressively with that. So I think it's something I'm going to stay with for a long time. My process, I usually start with an image in my mind. It could be from a photograph or from an experience in nature. I'm a lifelong birder, so I have a big store load of observation that's inside, and this is a way to express it. So then I do many versions of this image very quickly and spontaneously. They might be just a few minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes at a time. And as I do that, then the image changes and the meaning of it changes to me too as I go along. And so I find that really interesting. This particular painting is called The Edge of the Field, and it developed more into, it evolved into an expression of a memory for me. For one thing, the edge of the field is a place that's always filled with wildlife and vitality. And to me, this painting, the landscape has a connection to humans or to people. I could imagine myself walking into it or standing in there. And so it became kind of personal to me in that way. And I tried to suggest that with the title. It could be an edge of a farm field or a pasture or a meadow with the undergrowth nearby. And to me, I always, in those locations, I always have a feeling of freedom and spaciousness. And I think this may be expressed in that one. So the next piece is very different, a different expression of nature. To me now, this one is just, this isn't nature connected to people. This is nature just on its own, and it's kind of remote. It's kind of remote, and it's, we're a part of nature, but we don't control it. We don't understand it all. And so I had a feeling of intensity as I did this, intensity of the forces of nature. The black lines, could they be outlines of a tree or an object, some object? I don't want to impose that on the viewer, but clearly it's something in nature. And the black lines, as I think of it now, and I look at it, it contrasts so much with the soft colors, but I don't think of that as a contradiction. I think of that as being a part of the complexity of the natural world and the richness of the natural world. So that's about all I have to say about that one. I didn't do these pieces at the same time. They're several months apart, but yet they're similar in the colors, particularly. That must have been just how I was feeling when I was in that period of time. And I know I will probably continue to change and evolve in my work in the future. So with that, I'll just say thanks again to Paradise and Ming Chiao. Julie's muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Christine. They're gorgeous, and it's amazing that everybody's using the same materials and Asian brushwork, but everybody's work is so different. It's amazing. And yours is, to me, it's almost bordering on abstract. And I do love the black contrast with the soft, subtle colors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Dee, and Dee Teller has been on my gallery committee longer than me. Dee has had several shows here. I tried photographing this piece with the glass on, and I had a really hard time, so I scanned your postcard of it. It still doesn't do it justice, but it looks better than the photo.
It really, right, it's terrible with glass what happens.
Yeah.
Right. This one is called Spirited Horse. And for those of you that know me, I studied with a horse master for 17 years, and we took turns. I went to his home for a couple of weeks, and then he would bring his family and come here for 3 weeks. And so we've had horse workshops at the Old Town Art Center, at the Paradise, at the old Faribault Art Center years ago. Like Julie said, I think I was on at least 10 years before I ran into her. But this horse then is showing a backwards view. And I love the energy in a few line strokes that you can use. So in this case, we were talking about Dorothy's picture that had the nice mood behind it and everything. And then this one has a lot of white. And so with the Asian brush painting, there is a balance that you try to have negative space and positive space. And you can look at it totally in that view. Okay, what are the white shapes? What are the black shapes? And so a lot of times it does, like you mentioned, look abstract because a lot of the Asian brush painting, it isn't the fine detail that a lot of watercolor artists might have, or that we've done the American way, or if we've studied art in college, this would be totally a no-no. In fact, when I was getting my master's degree in studio arts, one of the college professors voted not to let me do it with Asian brush painting. But anyway, he got outvoted. So because it's not typical. So first, when somebody sees it, they kind of misunderstand or whatever. You'll notice there are red seal chops on on everybody's, I'm pretty sure, in the Ming Chiao show that you'll see. If you put on more than one, they suggest that you change the size. And also maybe like the one at the top left corner above the horse's head is a positive chop. It was carved so that the calligraphy was positive. So when you chomp it into the red steel,
Sorry.
What shows is what the carver has made that sticks out. And so the small one under my name, my Chinese name, Ding Teller, the little square one is also the positive, but the bottom one in the right-hand corner, horse running in the middle of 10,000 miles, then that one is negative, the white shows. So that's about all I have to say about that. I have, actually, the painting is very expensive, but I do have prints of it. So, all right, this one is probably more confusing to you than most. And it's just called abstract strokes. But one of the wonderful things that happens when you use the Asian ink on rice paper, as you can see the shape on the right, the hairs of the brush made nice, interesting shapes with the ink. And then it's not a solid black stroke like a lot of people want. Even when I do my calligraphy, I try to, well, this was entered in the national show last year and got in. Sumi-e Society of America show, but it doesn't have solid black strokes like a lot of people would want their calligraphy to be. And so it is definitely an abstract piece, totally, but it has such great energy from when I hooped the brush across paper. And I'll show you some brushes now. I don't know if you can see. This one is ox horn, and then the hair is wool. And so it's white. And the white wool, you have to be careful, like, so when you wash it, that you don't get it warm because it shrinks like a wool sweater. But all Sumi brushes come to a point. Now, this is another different kind of hair, but it's a mixed brush. So mixed brushes have light hair and dark hair. And when you do that, it holds the ink longer in it. And you hold it straight up and down when you paint. You hold it very different. You put your hand out like you're gonna shake hands with somebody. Put your bottom fingers behind, the top fingers above, and then you hold it still with your thumb. I don't know if you can see that at all, but there's all sizes. And then here's a small one. When I studied in China, I was told if you could get teardrop bamboo, This one is solid. This isn't teardrop. That would bring you more luck and you'd be a better calligrapher. And so I studied in China in '87, and I have one teardrop bamboo brush that has served me well. So I just thought you might be interested in how different the tools are also. So I'm happy when I do this. I feel really good every time I paint. And please see the show. It's so interesting. And our president has studied nationally and internationally, and she has some pieces in the show too, Susan Frame. But it's been interesting. I've known some of the members since '88. So notice my white hair. Yeah, okay. Been around a while. Thanks for having me on.
Can I ask, so you had this shape in mind when you started this piece?
No.
Okay. When did you decide on that shape?
It was cut into 3 parts. And the part that looked like the most promising, then we put in this fan shape. So it had some other bigger, more dark in it. And so I have abstract pieces laying around. There's a lot of piles of paper with ink on them, but this was part of a piece.
Okay, so in lack of, not the best terms, but you cropped it basically in this shape.
And,
okay.
Right. And when I began the whole thing, I didn't have any idea what the results would be. So one thing that you'll know is that Sumi-e artists don't take a pencil and draw, like you would maybe for some watercolors or whatever. It's comes from the heart. And actually there's a lot of wasted rice paper, but it makes good Christmas wrapping paper. You have to discard it. So, okay, bless you.
Oh, thank you, Dee. And like Dee said, a lot of her work, she does make prints. So if you can't afford the original, a print is a good way to have her work in your house. And I have a calligraphy scroll with Sing, and I love it. Thank you, Dee.
Yeah.
Ben Wong is next. And Ben, I have to say, this piece is so relevant to today. Can you tell us about it?
Well, it didn't start out as a monkey holding a phone. I had something else in mind of what I wanted the monkey to be holding. But I goofed because I made the eyes looking out at the audience rather than down at his hand.
Oh.
So then I thought, well, let's do something silly. Let's put a phone in his hand. So I think I got a lot of positive responses from people that thought that was pretty silly, pretty goofy, and typically me.
And I think
But
it's so relevant to today's culture.
I probably could have titled it Lost in Space, but I titled it It's for You.
Oh, I see, sure.
So it was a lot of fun to do. This one is Plum Blossom. And Dee mentioned that she had a lot of white space in her paintings. And I always make sure I have a lot of white space in mine. The main idea of leaving the white space is for the audience, the viewer, to fill in the blanks. They can see more pine blossoms or mountains or whatever they choose to see behind my painting. But it's with using the black ink on rice paper, you don't really know what you got until the ink dries. Sometimes the ink will dry lighter than you want it. Sometimes it'll dry darker than you want. So you got to be careful how you're shading your tree branches or mountains or whatever, and let it dry before you start adding on to it. Another thing, you don't want to paint while the paper is wet because the ink will bleed. So this Dee showed you several brushes of different sizes. I like to use just one brush. And this painting, like most of my paintings, I just use one brush, whether it's a thin line or a thick, heavy line or a dry brush. I pretty much do my paintings with just one brush. So we can go on to the next picture. Thank you. I love doing landscapes. That's predominantly what I do. Usually mountains, trees, and this one I think I was inspired by looking at pictures of the Yellow Mountains in China. But I love doing trees and mountains. And again, I use just one brush. And you kind of have to let the ink dry, with the mountains in the background. I had to wait to see how those look before I start adding the images in the foreground. So I wanted to make sure that they weren't too dark or too light. I use a lot of dark black ink to add strength and character, where in Christina's painting, she was not sure about how the dark ink looked on her paintings, whereas I make sure I have dark ink because it brings out, has a strong feeling to it. So I do landscapes predominantly. Sometimes I just sit down and just start painting away on something. Like Dee did, I will sometimes paint a large landscape and might only like a portion of that painting. And so I'll crop it down to the part that I like. So that's, and I must say, I've been painting more than 8 years. So Dorothy and Kristen, you guys are doing a wonderful job.
Yes.
And thank you, Pat, Julie, for inviting me on this talk and inviting me into the show. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. We are so happy to have your artwork here at the Paradise.
Thanks.
And like we've said before, to see the work in person would be the best representation to see the work. As you can see, I took this photo and there's glass and reflection. So please come and see the work in person. The Paradise is actually open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, noon to 5, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If those times don't work for you, or if you don't want to be around other people, give me a call or an email and we'll set up a private showing for you. Our phone number here is 507-332-7372, or my email is info@paradisecenterforthearts.org. You can find my email all over the website and places. So please, if you can't make it in person, please let us know and we will make an appointment for a private showing. This artwork will be up through June. Sorry, I can't remember right now. I know the pickup is the 20th. June 18th is the last time to see that. So you've got a few more weeks, and I'm serious, make an appointment and we'll give you a whole tour of the Paradise too. Okay, thank you, everybody. And like I said, we can do a Q&A at the end, especially if you think of anything you want to ask the artists that are here. We are fortunate to have the Faribault High School's artwork in our Quarry Lane Creger Memorial Gallery. That gallery is always for 18 and under. We've had as young as 3-year-olds up to 18. And the Faribault High School, this is painting and drawings mostly. This is Elena Hagel. She is actually volunteering and helping us with an after-school program. And I believe she will also be helping us with the Shrek Junior theater camp this summer. So Elena is at Faribault High School, and she's got 2 very powerful pieces here. We're so happy to have her work here. We've got 80, sorry, I don't know if it's 80 or Ida Borka, a very interesting piece. Teenagers always come up with the most fascinating themes and kind of emotions. I love this piece. This one is actually done on a vinyl record. This is Avery Nyman Eastman. Very playful. And as kids will paint and draw on anything, this it just makes me warm and fuzzy. Taylor Sterling. Taylor also was helping us with an after-school art club here at the Paradise. This one is some mushrooms and kind of a landscape, acrylic paint on canvas. This is Bailey Wendell. This is probably my favorite piece in the show. I think Bailey was getting over some family member had a health issues, and this is her interpretation of feelings from that. And here at the Paradise, we have a beautiful pottery department. Diane Lockerbie runs that space for us. And we have in the K&M Gallery, a Paradise Pottery Group Show. These are pieces from students who don't sell their work, who just started doing work, to professional pottery artists. And I have a few images from that show. Again, Diane Lockerbie on the left runs the pottery studio for us. Diane has got me into pottery. I never thought I'd like pottery, and I love it. I even went out and bought my own kiln. Next to Diane, we have Janet Tangren. Janet is actually a fiber artist and a quilt artist. So it's really fun to see her try another medium. This is her strawberry bowl. And also in the show, she has a couple mugs, and she has a berry bowl, which is a colander, but it's blue and it's much larger than the strawberry bowl. Unfortunately, Janet's work is not for sale, but Diane's is. Liz Nelson, who used to be an art teacher, has been playing in the pottery studio with us, and she has a couple trays. And her daughter, Ava, actually has a piece in the show too. Not for sale, but come and see them. On the right, we have Sue Leach. Sue also is part of a pottery studio in Woodbury, but she also works with us at the Paradise. And these are 2 of her tiles. She actually does have some bowls and other pieces for sale. These 2 are not for sale, but some of her other work is. On the left, we have Claire O'Connor. She has the most interesting interiors carved on clay. I just love them. They're so much fun. I can't remember. This one's a porch, I believe, but she does also have one of a cabin. And it just has that homey feel. You just want to be in that space. Unfortunately, Claire's work is not for sale. Maybe if she makes some more, she will have some for sale. I had somebody recently asking why her work was not for sale. Again, I said I love pottery. The portrait on the right is mine. That's Ruth, my niece's cat, who's living with us right now. It's her first Raku portrait. I envision many more Raku portraits of hers. The Paradise Center for the Arts does typically 2 Raku firings per year. We usually do one in the spring and the fall. We just had one here in May, and we will have another one on September 24th. So if you're interested in that process, let us know. You can come and participate, or you can just come and watch us. We love to show people what we're doing here at the Paradise. Katie Wood is an artist. She has her own kiln, and she inspired me to get my kiln. She has some wall pockets here for the show, and she has some flat tiles like this woman, and she has a cat and a dragonfly. I highly recommend coming and seeing her work. Tammy Ressler on the right is a professional pottery studio artist. She's actually teaching at Shattuck St. Mary's right now. And her and Jessica Prill just pulled off the Straight River Art Festival on May 21st. So congratulations, Tammy and Jessica, on making that work. This is a raku sculpture of a cat. And I actually was part of this raku firing and watched this cat come to life. The cracking is on purpose. It's called a white crackle, or actually this might be a clear crackle. Sorry, Tammy, I'm not sure. But she has functional work, non-functional work, sculptures. I bought a beautiful cup from her. Can't wait to take it home. And that pretty much concludes what I have. We can open up to a question and answer, but I just want to say these activities are made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Fund. And anybody who pays sales tax on any items in Minnesota, thank you. That's where this money comes from. So if anybody complains about paying sales tax on items in Minnesota, it comes back to us. I've been lucky enough to get a Minnesota State Arts Board grant, and I know a lot of other artists have and organizations, and that's what keeps Minnesota such a great state for artists. Anybody have questions for the artists? Well, if nobody has any questions now, please email them to me. You can see my emails right here, info@paradisecenterforthearts.org, or our phone number, 507-332-7372. If you have a question for one of the artists, I can reach out to them and get that answer for you. So please feel free to contact us. And again, if you'd like a private tour, let us know. I love showing up the Paradise more than anything, and I can talk about the arts until the cows come home. And it is an amazing show.
If there's any interest in membership, there might be people that are Asian brush painters or not that would be interested in the group. It's, I don't know, it's very little, like $40 for the year, but there's a lot of activities planned, and there's group things to do and great shows to see and interesting people. So if you have an interest, and you don't even have to be a painter, we have members that just want to join, you know.
And we have information in the galleries about the Sumi Society. So if you're interested in that and getting to be part of that, we've got that information for you. And if we don't have the answer, I can put you in touch with Susan Frame. And I know Pat Gustafson and Dee. I know them very well and can get a hold of them probably at any time to get answers for you.
And we have a website as well. Just Google Ming Chiao.
Okay, wonderful. So exciting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions, let us know.
Thank you for sharing your beautiful work.
And it's amazing. And I am a painter also, and I can actually feel, I think, some of those brush strokes being made, especially in Christine's work. And like I said, there's such a variety, you know, there's calligraphy, there's landscapes, there's animals, there's more abstract work, more realistic work. There's a couple that look like series that we have here right now. Highly recommend coming to see it. And we are located in downtown Faribault at 321 Central Avenue North. We have a big giant marquee out front, like an old movie theater. During open hours, just pop in and see us. Again, we are open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, noon to 5, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 1 hour before performances. And we have performances almost every weekend. So you can come see a show, see the galleries, take a class. We'd love to see you.
Thank you.
Good job. Bless you, dear.
Oh, and thank you, Pat, Dorothy, Christine, Dee, Ben, for joining us and sharing your work with us and telling us about your work. And I know that's a lot of times that's the piece that people don't get to hear is from the artist. So it's exciting to talk to the artists about their work.
Great. Thanks, Julie. Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you. Have a great night, everybody. And we recorded this, so I will upload it tomorrow morning and you can share it with your people.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.